If you're aiming to play a lot of golf this season and you want to make sure that your body's not the one thing that's limiting your performance, I'm going to show you a short routine you can do from home to help you get started on what's most important. Like many golfers, you won't have trained in the off season. So you're going into the new season excited to play your best golf ever. But as you start the season, naturally you're going to play more golf and you're going to hit more golf balls. So you're going to increase the amount of golf swings you're doing on a weekly basis that's going to start to show up some physical niggles, aches and pains. We know that strength training and mobility work reduces the risk of these problems. So we need to integrate these into our weekly cycle to help maximize the golf performance. So to keep things as simple and as effective as possible at the beginning, my recommendation is using a TRX or a suspension band from home that costs around about £30 off Amazon, where you can do a good range of exercises and really increase that strength, mobility and power that's needed to play better golf. The first exercise we're going to focus on is a shoulder external rotation. We want to try and get mobility through the shoulders in that key external rotation that is used in the backswing of the trail arm, but also we want the mobility through the upper spine, the thoracic spine, and strengthen the shoulders. To start off with, you're going to try and take a 45-degree angle with the key of the hips are locked forward. So we've not got the hips sagging, hips are locked forward, glutes are tight. In slow motion, I'm going to lift myself up, and as I go up, I'm trying to basically get a 90-degree angle with my arms. This top position, I'm holding my body weight, so I'm not bolt upright. This is allowing me to load the shoulders. So when I do that as a full motion, I'm going to powerfully drive up, stretch, control down, and repeat. For this exercise, because we're trying to increase some endurance, I'm going to say a minimum of 10 reps, up to 15. Next, we're going to focus on a single arm row with thoracic rotation. So we're trying to open up that thoracic spine, which we know is really important for mobility and movement in both the backswing and downswing, but we're also integrating this strength through the rowing motion, which will then get into that lats, which is also a key rotator. So you're going to grab both parts of the band, same sort of setup. I'm going to row myself up. And as I come down in a controlled manner, almost coming down 2 to 3 seconds, I'm going to open up my spine. So you see I'm just twisting and then I'm driving back up to the top, controlling, stretching, looking to the hand as we go. We can have the pulling arm as straight as we want, but I like to keep a little bit of flex in the elbow because I'm keeping that shoulder loaded. So there, see how that elbow slightly flex, big stretch, big rotation, power up and repeat. Aim for about 8 to 12 reps each side. Next, we're going to focus on getting mobility again through that thoracic spine, but also into the hip with some lower half stability. Holding the band in a normal position with the arms slightly flexed, so roughly 45 degrees, feet hip width apart. And you're just going to bring one foot so it's onto the tiptoe slightly back. So we've mainly got our weight and our load through that front leg. We're going to hinge over so the chest is facing more to the ground. From here, all we're going to try and do is twist the chest as much as we can so it's facing in the full direction. Let's say there's a wall there, so we're twisting and we're doing the same thing in the opposite direction. So we're really trying to turn the rib cage, the trunk, and we're trying to load through that front hip. We're going to do 6 to 8 repetitions in both directions on each leg. Next, we're going to focus on the lower body strength and power, but also some good mobility in this lateral lunge. So again, starting with feet roughly hip width apart, elbows slightly flexed. We're going to take a big stride, which is super important that it is a big stride, to one side and the arms are still bent, because as we go down, you can see how naturally my arms straighten. And then I'm driving back to the center. With this motion, we're trying to limit how much we pull with the upper body. So we're trying to really push out the ground as much as possible. And we're feeling like we're sitting the hip back as much as we can. So I take that stride and I want to feel like my weight is going backwards into that heel. And then I'm able to explode out of it. Aim for 8 to 12 reps each side. Now we're going to focus on upper body strength and power in a push-up motion. Now the push-up motion develops very much these pectoral muscles, which for golfers is super important because they produce a lot of club head speed through force. So we're going to take the band and wrap it either side with the hands on the inside of the band, and all we're going to do is go over until we're essentially facing the floor. You might want to start with a little bit of elbow bend just to kind of not fully having to lock out, and we're trying to get that core level so the glutes are nice and tight and down, and then we're just in a controlled manner going to go down and then powerfully drive up. Now the depth, we could go a little bit higher up if that's too difficult and do essentially the same movement, which should be easier because we're not basically being pulled down by gravity as intensely and we're not loading up. So from this position, and you've got to find your sweet spot to do around about 10 repetitions. So if I go low down, and from here we know this is going to be tougher. If you're too weak to get any further depth, you're going to struggle to do more than 10 at that motion. So straight away, you're just going to adjust and really find that height where we can get core locked, bit of control, good depth, and then a powerful drive back to the top. And then the final one is very much a lower body power exercise where we're going to be doing a jumping motion, but we're using the bands to help gain a little bit more height and a bit more explosiveness. So we're just going to go into a squat setup, elbows flexed slightly, squat down to about half, 3/4, and then we're going to try and jump off the ground as high as we can by exploding through the legs, and we might use a bit of pull through the arms to create more momentum. We control that landing, and then we repeat that process. And the key is really trying to jump vertically and not pulling on the bands where it pulls us too forward. And for this, because it's power, we're only doing 6 reps. So my advice is get started with this routine, apply it for 3 to 4 weeks, where you can build up that intensity, build up that overall endurance of your whole physical capacity. And once you've achieved that, then we need to move on to some higher intensity exercises and some different equipment. In order to understand what to do, I recommend going on my Golf Fitness app, where you can access it here, that's got different routines and will take you through the rest of the season in a safe and effective manner. If you just want an additional routine to add alongside this, watch this video next.